We're using a collection object instead of an array because we want to have more control and keep the functionality of our cookbook grouped together with the data. So what are these extra features that our cookbook brings to the party? First off, we want to be able to get a list of the recipe titles. There are actually two parts to this action: grabbing the titles and displaying the list. These are two very separate responsibilities: grabbing the data and displaying the data. In the last stage, we talked about the single responsibility principle, and we set up a new render class. The render class controls how something is shown and can change based on where we're using the data. In this course, we're displaying everything to the console, but we could render our recipes to a website or a data feed. No matter how or where we render this data, the data remains the same. Let's set up two methods, one in our collection class to grab the titles, and one in the render class to display these titles in a list. Let's start in our recipe collection, where we need to get the recipe titles. Let's create a new method. We'll name this getRecipeTitles. Since each of the recipes is an object that contains much more than just the title, we need to grab just the title. We'll start by initializing our titles array. Then we'll loop through each of the recipes in the collection and grab the title. To our titles array, we add recipe, get title. Then we can return our titles. Now we can go into our render class to display the list. We'll call this list recipes, and we'll pass in the titles. Before we display the recipes, I think we should sort the titles. We can use asort to sort the values in the titles array. Finally, we want to return a list of titles, so we'll use the implode function again. Let's go back to our cookbook file and try this out. Instead of our var dump, let's use our render. Then we'll pass it our get recipes titles. Now let's run this script. Great, now we see a list of recipe titles in alphabetical order.